Have you ever had a tax problem with the IRS and you were just over it? You wanted somebody else to be able to take it from your hands and just take care of the situation. Well, if that's you and you're looking for representation before the IRS, one of the forms that you will need to file is a Form 2848. So in this video, I'm going to go over Form 2848, which is the power of attorney and declaration of representative for the IRS. Before I get right into it, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Timalyn Bowens, and I am America's favorite EA. I'm also the owner of Bowens Tax Solutions, which is a virtual firm based in Louisville, Kentucky, and we specialize in resolving taxpayers' IRS issues. So let's talk about what this form is and its purpose. So part 1 right here gives you a warning. It says caution, a separate Form 2848 must be completed for each taxpayer. That means if you have an issue and you are married filing jointly, 2848 has to be filled out for each spouse. Also, Form 2848 will not be honored for any purpose other than representation before the IRS. So for example, whenever I bring on a new client, I have a 2848 that I fill out on their behalf. Then I have them sign it. I sign it, make sure all the correct information is there. This only allows me to discuss tax matters and to set up agreements and things of that matter for their situation. I can't take this power of attorney to any other type of court and represent them in any type of way. Okay, now this is only valid if the taxpayer has signed and dated on page 2. So we'll get there when we get there. Let's start here at the top. When you have a 2848 filled out, you want to make sure that you have the most updated version. So that's what we have here. See, revised January 2021. Next, you want to make sure that you have, you want to make sure you have the taxpayer name and address. So this is very important. You want to make sure that the taxpayer's name is shown the way it is shown on the last 1040 that they filed. Okay, so for example, my name is Timalyn Bowens, as I've already said, middle initial S. So I need to make sure that this says Timalyn S. Bowens. Got it? So if we have an individual, we have their name, address, social security number, plan number if applicable, and then we have the daytime telephone number. Now, what I do for my clients when I represent them, I do not actually put their telephone number here. There's a box that you can check that says POA because I'm going to be their power of attorney and I'm stepping in their shoes to represent them. I don't want the IRS calling them. Why do you want the IRS calling you if you've paid somebody to represent you before them? So what I do, I have a box checked. Sorry about that. I don't know why that keeps popping up. All right. It may not let me show you, but I put in parentheses here, POA, and then I put my phone number, because if the IRS has a question about this form, their tax situation, they need to call me. Pro tip here, if you do have a representative and the IRS by chance does call you, you need to let them know you are not talking to them about the tax situation. They need to call, if I was your POA, for example, you need to call Timalyn Bowen. She has a POA on file to discuss my case. Once this is on file, you do not have to discuss anything with the IRS. Now, granted, things are behind. So when you say that, and the IRS is also behind. So chances of them actually calling you are pretty slim to none unless you were severely delinquent right now. But because things are behind, they may not have the 2848 processed yet. So if they do give you a call and you need to tell them, hey, talk to my power of attorney, what you want to make sure that you do is you give that power of attorney a heads up so that they're able to fax it right over to whoever is called. Oops, sorry about that. So here we have representatives. Again, this has to be signed. So you're going to have the representative's name, address, which for me, we'd have Timalyn Bowens. My company's name is Bowens Tax Solutions. So we're going to have that address, which would be the 101 North 7th Street here in Louisville, Kentucky. Your representative has to have a CAF number. So CAF is the centralized authorization file. This is the department in the IRS that's going to make sure that I'm able to get your transcripts so I can tell what is actually going on with your account, because that's one of the first things that I do when I sign on a new client. I call the IRS, I fax over this 2848, and then they send me your transcripts to my secure mailbox, and I'm able to analyze them to see if you're eligible for any first-time penalty abatement or if there's anything that looks like it's there in error. Okay, so then we have a professional that is your representative. They're going to have a P10. That is a practitioner tax identification number that's going to go right here. Their telephone number, their fax number. If this is the first time that they've used this address, they're going to click new address, or if it's a new telephone or fax number, they're going to click that. Also, I want to point out right here, this checkbox. I always check this for my clients because I want to be in the know with what's going on. This box is checked so that they get copies of notices and communications. So when I work with you to resolve your tax issue, I get copies of all of your letters from the IRS. Now, it's important to note you can have more than one representative, okay? Typically, I would put somebody else on my team there just so if we get bottlenecked, they can talk about your situation as well. Their address is going to be the same as my business address because we don't need all this information going everywhere, right? But typically, I wouldn't check the box for them as well. But you are allowed to have multiple representatives, but only 2 representatives can receive notices and different communication. All right. So number 3, acts authorized, and we are required to complete this part. So except for the acts described in line 5B, I authorize my representative or representatives to receive and inspect my confidential tax information and to perform acts I can perform with respect to the tax matters described below. For example, my representative or representatives shall have the authority to sign any agreements, consents, or similar documents. And then there are instructions for how to do that and looking at 5A. So I've had payroll clients. So for them, I'd have payroll here, form 941, 940, and then you want to have the tax years or periods that you want the representative to be able to talk about. Pro tip, if it's an individual income tax return, we'd have the income tax here, we'd have form 1040 here, and then we'd have the years and periods. If you're having an issue in 2017, there's likely something that happened prior to that that you need to check out as well. So what I always do, I go back at least 10 years to make sure there are no other skeletons in your closet that the IRS is going to look at later. I also go 2 to 3 years in advance. So once we get an agreement set up, I'm still able to see your account to make sure that you're not about to default or to see if anything comes up that you may be eligible for. Because we may find later on that you're eligible for reasonable cause to have penalties abated, which simply means removed. I want to have access to see what's going on in the future so I can notify you of that and work on your behalf. Okay. Line 4, specific use not recorded on the centralized authorization file, which is the CAF. If the power of attorney is for a specific use not recorded on the CAF, check this box, check there. 5A, additional acts authorized. The acts listed on line 3 above. I authorize my representatives to perform the following acts. See instructions. So there's authorized disclosure to third parties. That is one that I typically will use just because I need to be able to use my software that makes me more efficient to see what you qualify for. substitute or add representatives. So again, like I mentioned, having my team members that may also work on the case, sometimes I check this. I do not sign returns for clients, but that is an authority that you can also authorize your POA to do for you. So if there's something that you specifically do not want your POA to do, that would be listed here on 5B. 6, retention and revocation of prior powers of attorney. The filing of this 2848 is going to revoke the rights of anybody else that had power of attorney for you. So what you want to make sure that you do, if you want them to stay on, is you're going to want to attach a copy of that, okay, just to make sure that they're still on there. Typically, though, if you're working with somebody new, you don't want both people to remain on there as your power of attorney. If you do not want to revoke a power of attorney, also make sure that you check the box here. Now, the IRS is big on making sure that you sign stuff. You need to make sure you understand what you're signing. By putting your signature here, your name, you are saying to the IRS, if a tax matter concerns a year in which a joint return was issued, each spouse must file a separate power of attorney, which I already went over with you, even if they are appointing the same representative. Okay, so here you're saying, I certify I have the legal authority to execute this form on behalf of the taxpayer, which typically is going to be yourself. Signed. Now let's get to the representative part, okay? We have the declaration of representative. So when I sign this for my clients, I'm going to be saying, I am not currently suspended or disbarred from practice. So I'm in good standing with the IRS. I am subject to regulations in Circular 230. This is very important because this is what sets the standards for us as tax practitioners, specifically for me as an EA, which is an enrolled agent, which if you want more details on that, you can check out my video that I did on what is an enrolled agent. We are the highest credential that the IRS awards. I'm authorized to represent the taxpayer identified in Part 1 for the matters specified there, and I am one of the following. Okay, drum roll. All right, only these people can represent you. An attorney, and the attorney has to be a member in good standing of the bar of the highest court of the jurisdiction shown below. So that means only where they are licensed at, okay? B, a certified public accountant, a holder of an active license to practice as a certified public accountant, aka CPA, in the jurisdiction shown below. Again, where they were licensed in that state. C, enrolled agent, such as myself, is an agent by the IRS per the requirements of Circular 230. I want to point out, it's not limited to jurisdiction because as an EA, I'm licensed to represent in all 50 states. Then we have an officer, full-time employee of the taxpayer. So if we're looking at a corporation, a family member may be the representative, a member of the taxpayer's immediate family, spouse, parent, child, grandparent, grandchildren, step-parent, stepchild, brother, or sister. An enrolled actuary, an unenrolled preparer is going to have very, 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 very limited representation rights. So they have the authority to practice before the IRS. It is limited. An unenrolled return preparer may represent, provided the preparer prepared and signed the return or claim for refund, was eligible to sign the return or claim for refund. They have to have a valid P10, which again is a practitioner tax identification number. And 4, possess the required annual filing season program record of completions. If they are unenrolled, which means they aren't an attorney, they aren't a certified public accountant, they're not an enrolled agent, they must meet this criteria here or the 2848 will be returned. They can be a qualifying student or law graduate or an enrolled retirement plan agent. So if this declaration is not signed, Completed, signed, and dated, the IRS will return the power of attorney. Representatives must sign in the order listed in Part 1, Line 2. So here, because I'm an enrolled agent, I would have a C. I am authorized by the IRS. I would put my EA number here, which you don't need until you become a client. I sign, and then I date. All right, so that's the 2848 kind of in a nutshell, a big nutshell. But if you have any questions about the 2848, let me know down in the comments below. If you are in need of tax representation right now, you can go to my company website, which is www.bowens, B-O-W-E-N-S, taxsolutions.com. Hit the book now button, and you will see the tax relief evaluation. I'd love to see if we're a good fit to work with each other. If you just want more information about back taxes, you can follow my personal blog. Especially join me on the Wix app because we have discussions there. But that website is www.americasfavoriteea.com. Until next time, you stay out of tax trouble.